going live. I normally have put this on the thing, but I didn't invite anyone normally, so notice I'm not even wearing like any of my. I'm not even wearing my shirt or anything. Just literally just woke. I literally woke up like this.
Might not want to admit on the live stream. You probably don't want to admit that on the live
stream. You know what? If anything, we're honest. Okay. All right. Looks like we are live. Go ahead, Nicholas. Take us away.
All right, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to episode 38 of the Targeted Podcast.
It's a Wednesday, not a Thursday.
Yeah, I'm Nicholas. That's the Heat, and we're broadcasting on our new day now, Wednesdays.
Yes.
So now on, you'll be catching us on Wednesdays. You know, work and everything gets in the way. We had to make some changes. You know how it goes. So
yeah, this is our day jobs. We have day jobs. we're not official podcasters that's invested in this. So we have
that's right. That's why we're not hitting everybody in the mouth with advertisements and everything else for this.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. Yeah, not yet. We're getting better. We're gonna get better. We're gonna get better.
Yeah. We'll get there.
But yeah, we have a couple of things to talk about tonight because there's been some interesting things going on as far as sports and social media, and really looking forward to diving into some of this stuff tonight. So tonight we'll be talking about we'll continue our discussion on the Facebook whistleblower. We kind of touched on it a little bit last week, and then we'll be talking about what happened with John Gruden and the NFL and his firing. And then wanted to try to talk about Star Wars Visions a little bit. We'll see if we can get on that at the end. Yeah. But that's definitely something I enjoyed and definitely want to take a minute to talk about like where we think they're going to go next. So, see what you want to talk about first, man. You want to talk about this whistleblower? You want to talk about this John Gruden situation?
Oh, let's talk about the John Gruden situation. So, as you guys may have heard, John Gruden has resigned for those of you guys who aren't sports fans, right? Don't leave. Just hear us out. John Gruden isn't. Has resigned as head coach of the Raiders, right? I was going to say the Oakland Raiders, but they're actually Las Vegas Raiders because they moved to a different city. But they have resigned. He has resigned. What has happened is that a number of his emails have been leaked, right? The first one was he made a racial email versus against the NFL PA leader, right? And then actually just recently, and I haven't read a whole lot, more emails have come out stating that he has kind of made disparaging remarks against the LGBTQ community, so on and so forth. So yeah, which we're actually gonna have like another episode on the Chappelle show later, which kind of our schedules have been mixed up a little bit, but yeah, it's been a rough week, and actually his emails have not implicated some other people too, right? Some other people in the NFL, right? So you sent me earlier, Nicholas, Adam Schefter,
yeah,
right?
Adam Schefter.
And I was actually looking up somebody else too. Like there were other people that were implicated with these emails as well. So yeah, John Gruden resigned as a result, and it kind of like I'm not gonna like defend any racist on this. I will say what's interesting though is the owner of the Raiders at the moment, right? He's responsible for something called the Brady Rule, right? So the NFL is required to at least not the owner per se, but the owner's father. Um, the NFL teams are required to at least interview a black head coach. Now, the NFL has had problems with
No, that's not the Brady rule. That's the Rooney rule.
the Rooney rule. I am so sorry. The Brady rule is the gun rule. It's the gun control rule. I am totally off. So no, the Rooney rule is the formal Raiders something that he introduced. Al Davis is his name, right? So this is really, really ironic, right? Right. That you have like this guy who has made racist, anti-LGBTQ remarks. He let himself go. He's also made a number of other remarks, but yeah, that's the thick the skinny of it.
Yeah.
Like Nicholas, like what are your thoughts like in general?
So this is the thing. So I want to go back for a second. So the emails were to Washington football team or former Washington football team exec, Bruce Allen, right? So what I find interesting is that I guess maybe he was the only person in Tulane, maybe he wasn't. But I'd be curious to know like who else the email was to, who else was in the email chain, right? Because this comes out, these emails. I think it was from a period of like 2011 to 2018. I guess these
10
emails
years
come out.
ago. Yeah.
So not to defend them or anything like that, but my first issue is obviously just like 10 years ago. So, why now? Right.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. But then secondly, so I was surprised by how quickly they moved to get him out.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, right? Because that's, usually that doesn't happen. Usually there's some sort of inquiry, some sort of investigation, something that gets dragged out, for God knows how long. But they move pretty quickly to get him out. But I'm wondering, obviously there's other people on the emails, right? So it's like they move to, they make John Gruden like the scapegoat of everything, and probably rightly so. But there are obviously, the people who are in the true line are enablers of these types of messages, right? Why aren't they out here getting their spot blown too? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as much as we like to say that, things have changed, the NFL culture has changed and all this type of stuff, they obviously still have a long way to go, because I don't see any owners really getting in trouble. Like I'm sure, if the Washington football team exec was on there, then Dan Snyder was probably on there, right? Like the right, the wrong people, not the wrong people, but the people at the next level who should be getting a little bit of heat up for this type of stuff aren't. You know what I mean? So that's kind of an issue that I have. But I mean, obviously, like Gruden's behavior and language, it's inexcusable, right? I mean, that's just not what we should be putting in emails or anything like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think you're absolutely right. So he, I am against, obviously, I'm totally fine um, with like him resigning. Now, mind you, nothing really happened to him. Maybe he was forced to resign, but he did resign, right? A lot of people
Right.
were calling for some sort of punishment. Um, he did resign. And I felt like he resigned fairly early too, right? Because it kind of seemed like when he resigned, like more emails hadn't come out yet, right? So he probably have said some things that are much, much worse, right? That I was like, I can't defeat this. And let me go ahead and like, exit stage left, right? The interesting thing about some of the LGBTQ comments that he's made on his show, I mean on his email, was that he also has the first like openly gay athlete on his roster, right? In the Raiders as well, right? So it kind of shows it's very interesting. I'm a little conflicted because I'm definitely happy to see him go. You definitely want someone with that kind of mentality coaching, black men, right?
Right.
You're accountable for what you're saying. But at the same time, not to defend them, we all think differently. I mean, the way I think now wasn't the way I thought 10 years ago. Definitely didn't think as bad as he
Exactly.
did 10 years ago, right? So um it does say something about that he's resigned, right? Versus that like this is it's not like he made these comments on Twitter either, like a public avenue. These were private emails,
These are
right?
emails, but I mean, it's
These
still,
are emails.
still
Yeah,
the fact that
yeah,
he felt that comfortable. Like,
yeah,
I work in a smaller company. It's not like I'm going to email some executives,
exactly.
um, revealing pictures of women or some of the other stuff that they found in these emails, right? I mean,
Hey, these
I
these
would
old
never do
timers, man, they
stuff,
don't
you know what I
understand how
mean?
the internet works.
So
These old timers don't understand how the internet works,
yeah,
right?
but I mean, it's still like that. It seems to be that type of that there's a certain fraternity in the
Yeah.
league still that the
Oh yeah.
players are obviously excluded from. There's still like an old school, seems to be an old school mentality still,
Oh
and they're
yeah.
not as open
Oh
minded.
yeah.
But what I did like also was that I saw that Aaron Rodgers came out and made a statement as well, um, basically saying that those types of opinions aren't welcome in our league, and at
Yeah.
least in his locker room, they treat you how man to man, as you should be treated, not based on your color or whatever orientation and whatever, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I did appreciate that one of the bigger stars and veterans in the league came out to speak on that as well.
And he's always been open like that too, Aaron Rodgers. So he
Yeah.
tends to kind of I argue to say progressive, but he has been more empathetic towards kind of more social justice type causes. So it's pretty I mean it's pretty satisfying to see, right? Like Aaron Rodgers being like that. He's definitely not afraid to kind of stand up. I think you hit on a really good point though, Nicholas, saying that the league has its own this little club, right?
Yeah.
And it's
The owners club.
this owners club. It's the reason why you don't see pretty much don't see any black owners,
Yep.
right? Right. I mean, ironically, there is like a Pakistani owner in Jacksonville. Like there's another mess in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer. Like that's just funny. I'm sure you followed that one a little bit, right? With Urban Meyer. Oh, really? You didn't catch this
Oh, I
one?
did follow Urban Meyer, but
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Well, we can talk about Urban Meyer too.
Well,
Uh,
Urban's Meyer situation got eclipsed by this situation.
well, yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
meme, right? It's like, hey, like,
Yeah.
let me, have you did you hear about what's happened to John Gruden? Like, forget about me. Like, did you hear
Yeah,
about?
exactly. Yeah.
I thought that was
So,
funny.
we can let's talk over. We can talk over Meyer too because he's had some kind of messed up things, but like this kind of all boys club ish type situation, right? Is the reason why some systemic issues exist within the league, right? So it's unfortunate. From one end, like I'm against the idea of um like someone digging in through my emails and like finding disparaging like remarks. I don't think I've actually ever I don't have I am 1,000% sure that I don't have that kind of disparaging remarks in my emails, but
Man,
you
you'll
know,
never
we
find
I
it in any
yeah, you
work
never find
email.
my emails.
But
For
but so
sure.
but I did read too. So it wasn't like a random search of this stuff either. So you
Oh,
remember? I don't know if you recall, like the Washington football team kind of had like some drama
yeah.
not too long ago, where there was like some work placement allegations of workplace misconduct
Yeah.
within the franchise, and so that caused the league to kind of review a bunch of emails over the past few months and whatnot. So
I
that's
see.
where this stuff was unearthed. But you know what I also think about too, right? So you have the emails that are talking about, gay players like Michael Sam and the other gentleman that's on the Raiders. You have the stuff where they're talking about women and all this other stuff. It takes me back to Kaepernick. Like immediately takes me back to Kaepernick, right?
Yeah, let's
God
go
only
there.
knows the types of conversations these people had about Kaepernick while he was trying to do something positive.
Yeah.
In the world, right? And they're, if they're talking about, gay players and all this other stuff, I mean, in that way, or just having like these random conversations. I mean, God only knows what they're talking about with him. And again, just the fact that there's that fraternity. So once they decide you're out, you're out.
Yeah.
And so they
A lot of these guys, a lot of these guys are Trump supporters. Like, obviously the Dallas owner supported Trump, right? Donates his campaign, right? Jacksonville head coach donates his campaign. Can't say, I mean, it's one of the John Gruden emails, he said something about like Joe Biden like not knowing what the F he's doing. So it makes me wonder, I know who he supports, right? That made me laugh because I was like, the alternative is this guy, right? So uh it's 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 not surprising, right? It's not surprising.
I mean,
Like
it is, and it isn't, I guess, because you try to think, I try to think the best of people. And, when these things come up, like,
how's that gone so far, Nicholas? Thinking the best people.
Terrible. I feel like basketball is a predominantly Black sport. Football is a predominantly Black sport. And yet, things are still being run in a way that ensures that the players don't have the control they need to have, the level of ownership or input that they need to have. Right? There's still
in basketball,
not basketball so much.
Basketball has its problems too. It's the most progressive league, but they have its problems.
They're more progressive, but they just still don't have like any ownership really. But in football, it's just worse, right? And it's just the blatant disrespect, I think, of the people who are employed by the league, right? I mean, these guys work and play their butts off like their entire lives to make it to the league. And then you come into a place where you're disrespected. You have to fight for your freaking health benefits. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like these guys, once these guys retire, they're not really taken care of by these organizations at all.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm gonna catch some crap for this, but it's a slave mentality almost, right? And a lot of people will push back heavily against this because a lot of these players get paid a lot of money, right? But
I love how they put that out there, like, oh, he's making however many $1 million.
Yeah.
First of all, that stuff gets taxed like crazy.
Oh yeah.
And secondly, like again, like they don't have. It's not like they have benefits like the rest of us, right?
There's no amount of money you can pay to treat someone like a slave, ever, right? Now, I mean, now mind you, again, this isn't saying they are slaves, right? Slaves don't get paid, right? So there's a huge difference. But you can understand the slave mentality, this idea of like ownership, right? Where I'm paying you, you do whatever I say. Like these people are still humans, right? Regardless of how much you pay, right?
Yeah.
And they can speak up for themselves. They do demand to be treated a certain way. And there is an expectation, even if you're paying these guys, there's an expectation of you as a leader or as an owner, right? To still treat people with some level of dignity, right? I remember.
Honestly, I think they're I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think they're trying to get rid of that term owner too. For these teams. I mean, it's small, right? But it's
it's
bigger scheme
as big as a
trivial.
Yeah, it's as big as a change as people saying getting rid of master bedroom or whatever, right? Like you have.
Well, that's just stupid.
That's the master bedroom.
Like, but team like the team owner and stuff, I can kind of get behind that, but it's still trivial, right? It still
Yeah,
doesn't really.
it's so trivial.
It starts with the language.
You need to address kind of some of the systemic problems you have there, right? So speaking of like owners, right? Years ago, I think was it the Texans or like the Panthers, like one of the owners, like after the Colin Kaepernick situation happened, and I think there were like there were strikes. I think it may have been the Texans. Like one of the owners said something along the lines of, "We can't let the prisoners run like the prison," right? And referring to the players against
Yeah.
like the owners, and it's like, yeah, this kind of seems like that kind of club mentality, right? Like,
Yep.
you got to change your mentality, right? That's what's got to change, right? You change it. You can make all these little small changes on owner and this and that. Show some commercials showing that you support Colin Kaepernick, like giving him a tryout and all that stuff. If you don't fight to change your mentality, right, which is what they're not willing to change,
Yep.
right? If you don't kind of fight for that, these little problems are going to keep popping up. And I think the the 10-year-old email wouldn't bother me as much if the guy's more focused saying, "Hey, I stand up for this and the X, Y, and Z now." That was 10 years ago. I don't think the same way then that I do now, right? So
All he
um
said was came out with like this bland ass, I don't have a
he
racist
came
part
out.
of my body. I was
Yeah,
like, yeah.
it kind of comes off at. I mean, yeah, he said the typical thing too. He said, "There's not an outer racism in my body," which I feel like that's what kind of in the closet racists say,
Yeah, just a
right? So,
very general statement. Like, dude, that's what you were saying. You was talking about
yeah,
somebody's lips and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
He
yeah, I
says,
mean,
he says, "Yeah, there's not an ounce of racism in my body." It kind of sounds to me. It's a very typical
kind of sounds
explanation
like
that
it
you hear. Huh? It sounds what?
kind of sounds like it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's like every time someone says something racist, they want to talk about their black friends, right? Like, "Oh, I have this
Right.
black friend XYZ, right?" Or like, "I love my black friend," or blah blah blah. Like it's kind of sounds like one of those situations, right?
Yeah.
when you when you say
But
that shit.
going back to the culture of the league too. So some of the things that I read about on ESPN were basically saying how the Players Association, they haven't really made any moves to really change things. Like the deals that they've reached with the league haven't really helped the players that much, right? So
Mhm.
like in the last agreement, I think the players were given like an extra 1.5% of league revenue. They haven't really made any strides to empower themselves any further,
Yeah. No,
right? And
unlike
so I
unlike
mean
the
they have a lot of
NBA,
work. Yeah,
right, which
right,
has gone well out of the way. Some people argue that they're probably too empowered. Um, but yeah, I don't think they're too empowered. I mean, there is going to be some definite weaknesses in that. I mean, case in point, Kyrie Irving, but but even then, I mean, we'll get into that later. But no, we definitely have to like change they have to change their mentality. They have to be willing to change their mentality. To your point, their last deal, Nicholas, they increased the revenue and they had the NFL players vote, right? They increased the revenue and a lot of players like got a lot of money. And it really showed the disparity between the haves and the have-nots in like the NFL
yeah,
because a lot of players voted against like having one extra game, because it meant so much of a toll on the body. But a lot of these players, they're not millionaires, right? Another
right.
thing to think about
Need
when you
that
look at
money.
the slave mentality, right? Um,
Yeah,
like a lot of these guys aren't millionaires. They don't make a lot of money, right? So they're gonna try to NFL is like, "Hey, we want this extra game. We're gonna ding a little money out there, and they're gonna take it, right?"
yeah,
Because very few chances where in America, there are very few chances where if you put more money doesn't like entice someone, right?
right,
So
right.
that's
But like so the that increase in revenue doesn't even equate to what they should be getting with the value of an added game, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
like nowhere near, right? So I mean, they're just kind of screwing themselves over a little bit.
Yeah, well, they are. But again, it kind of shows NFL has a ways to go. We're gonna keep seeing stories like this, right? Because they haven't changed their mentality. They're only willing to change their mentality. When you have like kind of an undiversified ownership group, right? You're gonna keep
Yeah.
seeing things like this pop up sporadically, right? And kind of that's the way it is. Part of me I'm a little bit against old emails popping up because when we, when we talk about cancel culture, and we'll talk about we're gonna talk about Dave Chappelle later. I
Oh,
definitely
we're
can't wait
talking
to get
about
into
Dave
that.
Chappelle. Yes, we are talking about Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. But like when we talk about, I don't think cancel culture is a big problem. I do think though it becomes a problem when you either A, don't allow people to be better than their past selves, right?
Right.
Um, we've you have to allow people to grow and become better and be better than what they were 5, 10, 15 years ago, right? It's one thing if they're still saying the same, like if they're saying effed up stuff now and they're saying
Well,
effed up stuff 10 years ago, that's one thing, right?
his email exchange did
But,
go up in 2018. I'm just saying.
huh?
I said the
Yeah,
emails do
okay.
go up to 2018. Not
Yeah.
really seeing
I
too much.
mean, maybe in 3 years he can change his mentality. I don't know. Right. No, but I do think you should allow people to improve and exchange if they're not. And if they don't, like then those past emails can like give some context, right? Um
Yeah.
I think I've made this I think I've talked about this earlier this year, Megan Kelly, right? Who was a former Fox News host who moved to MSNBC, who was then let go for defending or asking a question, well, why is blackface such a problem? Like, why can't we used to make fun of blackface? He's someone, she was someone that she got fired for that, right? But also on her show in Fox News when she says she was joking, um, she made like comments about, oh, well, Santa Claus has to be white, right? Santa Claus is white, like not black or whatever, right? And she's made other like disparaging comments. There's like there, there is a recurring motif with that. So that's where you bring the context of like past emails or past things like that. But yeah, if there's another case where there was a black there was going to be the first black editor of Teen Vogue, and they brought up old tweets of hers 10 years ago, right? When she made like anti-LGBTQ remarks on Twitter. Um, Now, again, don't know what her mentality is now, but it's interesting to kind of she was let go. So it's interesting to see, does she improve upon those, or was she still the same person 10 years ago? So I mean that's kind of like my thoughts on that in general. We're gonna hit it much harder on the Chappelle show, um, which I'm excited to talk about.
Might as well
I
dive
don't know.
into it.
Yeah,
We'll dive
you want to
into
talk
it.
about it now? I kind of want to promote that a little bit more because I want to get people say, yo, we're talking about Dave Chappelle. Like we're going to talk about that the XYZ. So yeah, let's save that one. Let's save that a little bit.
What?
Um, the
Man.
Chappelle show
Yeah, that's we gotta get into that, man. Unless you just
right
wait until
now.
later in the episode. Yeah.
I
You need to
mean, there's
wait till
only
later in
one
the episode.
person watching right now, Nicholas,
Hey,
and that's me. So
hey,
I want to get an audience to watch for that. So
the
that's what I'm
audience
saying.
they'll be watching it later too.
Let's
But
let's just do me a favor. Let's
let
save
me
it.
jump back to
Yeah.
the Facebook whistleblower thing real quick.
Yes, this is the face of Whistleblower. Let's talk about
Because
that.
so like I was talking about last week, right? I think a lot of this points to Facebook's business practices, which have been, to me, questionable for years. I do think that they should probably be broken up, just on the
Yeah.
grounds of them. Every time a competitor comes up with a new feature, a different feature than what they've had, they they copy it a little bit, and then they just buy the competitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and the average person might not realize that they're using all these different products from the same company, but they are, like Instagram, WhatsApp. And I think WhatsApp had, some little scandal or something too with its data or something like that. Maybe,
Oh yeah. No, that was earlier this year, right? WhatsApp, Facebook, a Facebook owned company, right? They changed their rules, their copy, I wouldn't say copyright information, but the rules governing WhatsApp, saying that they're gonna not necessarily per se look into your emails, encrypted emails, but use your text messages to kind of give you more. So a lot of people switched off. We did, our group did, right? Switched off from
yeah.
WhatsApp to either Telegram or Signal or things that kind of like end-to-end encryption and whatnot. So
Mm.
it's I mean, I think this case, right, with the whistleblower. So her name is Frances Hugan, right? Um she was a data engineer and product manager, right?
Yes.
You nailed it right in the head, right? She was like Facebook's practice is that of data, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
They sell
Oh, you keep breaking
more
up.
friends. I'm breaking up.
Yeah. Every once
Oh
in a while, you
man,
freeze a little bit.
man, my internet's on point today too, so that's unfortunate. Um, how am I looking now?
You're good now. You're good.
Okay, yeah. So it's yeah, Facebook's business practices is definitely very sketch. Um,
Mm, frozen again. This guy. Um, you need to log out and come back in.
I'm good. Can you
There
hear
he
me?
is. I can hear you now.
That's crazy because I mean, I wasn't frozen on my end. Normally, I'd get like an insecure internet happening now. So I'm looking at the live feed now. We'll see whose fault it is. I think it's my fault. Damn it! I'm looking at it right now. It's freezing up. It sucks.
Told you. Again,
I don't have my Ethernet connected right now, so it's so weird too. I love it when you freeze and it like gets you in like the worst position, like
mm, 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 mm.
whatever. All right,
Anyways,
y'all. I'm back. I was talking for a good bit. Where'd you lose me?
um, honestly, I forgot now because I was looking at a picture of you instead of video. So,
All right, restart. Facebook whistleblower. Right. I was kind of talking about that a little bit before I unfortunately started freezing because reasons. No, but I'm coming in kind of clear now, right? I think I'm a little delayed, but it's all good.
a little delayed, but you're okay.
Yeah, I'm a little delayed right now, but it's fine. So Facebook, her name was I think Lauren Hudgens, I think. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Francis Francis Hugan or Hagen, right? She was a product manager at Facebook, right? She dumped like a lot of like information about Facebook, about how they've lied to regulators, or not necessarily regulators, but to Congress and to governments about their practices and whatnot. Um, and they kind of they don't do a good enough job of um monitoring, right, misinformation and Stokes division and whatnot, right? And it's very interesting, right? Because like these algorithms, what they can do is if you like one thing, right, they can suggest all these other things
Yep.
for you, and that can really kind of mess with your mind, right, a little bit more, right? So for example, their Facebook algorithm for some reason thought that I liked like right-wing politics. So their videos kept
About
like
right.
huh? Did you
Sounds
say
about
that's
right.
about right? Yeah, no. But there was a time where their algorithm kept like suggesting me like more right-wing like content, and it was like fucking frustrating. Like I definitely don't like that kind of stuff. But imagine someone who does, who gets on that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Who will just will like keep feeding, get being kept fed that kind of stuff, right? It makes you wonder about the division that we have today, right? A lot of the misinformation about like vaccines, a lot of people say they get them from Facebook, right? Um, yeah, so
So
it's
here are 9 things from the whistleblowers test
yes,
Francis Hagen. I hope that's her name.
yeah,
1. This is from Gizmodo, by the way. So they took some quotes from her interview.
yes,
1. Facebook's algorithm intentionally shows users things to make them angry
yeah,
for engagement purposes, right?
mhm,
2, she kind of just comes out and says that like Facebook is worse than most other social media companies. I mean, I feel like that's, maybe she has some insight that we don't, but can't really prove that.
yeah,
3, Facebook dissolved its civic integrity unit after the 2020 election and before the January 6th Capitol insurrection. So this unit of the company was supposed to be in charge of combating political misinformation on the platform. But
yeah.
evidently it was dissolved like pretty quick.
They thought the job was done when Trump lost.
Yeah. So before the January 6th Capitol insurrection, they got rid of it, which
Yeah,
is kind of bad.
yeah,
Number 4, political parties in Europe ran negative ads because it was the only way to reach people on Facebook, evidently.
yeah.
So she smuggled out some documents from the company that showed political parties in Europe had started running negative ads to increase engagement on Facebook.
Yeah.
Number 5, Facebook only identifies a tiny fraction of hate and misinformation on the platform. So she's saying that they identify roughly 3 to 5% of hate materials on the platform and less than 1% of violence and incitement. But Facebook still considers itself to be the best in the world at identifying that type of material on content on social media,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. 6, Instagram is making kids miserable. So according to the documents from Ms. Hagen, 13.5% of teen girls say that Instagram makes thoughts of suicide worse, and 17% say it makes their eating disorders worse,
Yeah.
which is probably something you could believe because, in this day and age, right, like especially growing up, like bullying can be a 24-hour,
Yeah.
7 days a week activity, right? Especially the people follow you on your social media.
Can we point out
Yeah.
too that Instagram tried to, or Facebook tried to start an Instagram for kids as well,
Oof.
and we just canceled a couple weeks ago. I know you have 2 young girls, so I'm sure you're probably
Yeah.
not okay with that at all.
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
uh, yeah. Go ahead though.
But what's interesting is that despite it possibly causing like these eating disorders and feelings of depression, these young women actually use the app even more when they get these feelings.
Yeah.
Um, And so, of course, for Facebook, that means more engagement, and more money from from them, clicking on ads and things of that nature.
Yeah.
7, employees at Facebook aren't necessarily evil. They just have perverse incentives. Okay. So,
You have to elaborate a little bit more on that one.
so they're saying that Facebook makes more money when you consume more content, and people enjoy engaging with things that elicit an emotional reaction.
Yeah.
So the more anger they get exposed to, number one, the more they interact with it and the more they consume. So the more you use the platform and you end up with these feelings of depression, just like we were talking about in the last bullet, depression, suicide, et cetera, the more likely you're going to consume even more content on the platform. Perhaps you consume something to make yourself feel better. Perhaps you consume something to trigger you even more just because you want to, keep those feelings alive. You're just helping Facebook out.
Yeah.
Right. And so what they do is just continue. Obviously, as you use it, they're able to target you, your likes and dislikes and all of that. They're able to give you that content, and the cycle continues.
Yeah.
And of course, at least according to her and the article, right, they're saying that Facebook doesn't see it that way, and they have these little statements where kind of coming out against that type of stuff. Number 8, Hagen has empathy for Zuckerberg for some reason. So now we're kind of getting into like the opinion of the author here for this article, right? Because it is kind of like an editorial piece. But evidently, she was in the interview. She said that she had empathy for Mark Zuckerberg because he did not set out to make a hateful platform. So this is her just kind of defending him a little bit.
Yeah.
Basically, just saying it's unfortunate that it kind of turned into something that has so much polarizing content.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good. I don't think he intended to be hateful. I don't think he kind of made it to be what it came out to be. There is this movie that came out a couple years ago. That was, the name escapes me right now. I think it's on HBO Max, and it was a Steven Spielberg film. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Spielberg.
You have to give me a little bit more than that, man.
Yeah, I do got to give you more than that. My apologies. Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg.
There it is.
HBO.
Ready Player One.
Oh,
Ready Player One.
I was just watching that the other day.
Yeah, so Ready Player One is essentially about this group of people. Well, these two guys. Well, it's actually about a bunch of kids, but the main premise is that these two creators have this platform where they created this platform and people are kind of just using it like the way they didn't intend it to, right? Like they're still living and still, I mean, they're living their lives on this platform, and it's affecting people negatively, right? So what exactly, and who's responsible for that, right? Is it individual responsibility, or is it responsible to the platform owners to understand the negative impact you're having towards society? In Mark Zuckerberg's Berg's place, like, I'm sure he didn't intend on having all this negative impact, but he does have some level of responsibility and accountability, right? Right.
That's the thing, though. So, not to interrupt you, right? So, but they've been under the gun for a little while now. And do you remember when they had Zuckerberg give his testimony before Congress?
Yeah.
And it was like, we're both in a technical community or whatever. But it was like the questions they were asking him. They were soft questions, right? They were being asked by people who didn't really understand what they should have been asking him about. right?
It's more disparaging. I'll even go a step further. It's even more disparaging is that those Congress members, right? They have like teams of people that help them ask the proper questions, right? So it kind of goes to show you just how, first for starters, we have one of the oldest like Congress in the world. Like a lot of our members of Congress are in their 80s, um, 70s, like really up there in age, right? Um,
Yeah.
so it makes sense that they don't have the know-how to kind of handle what's currently happening, right? But like recently, I kind of got some more of an idea of like kind of what goes behind the scenes in Congress, and it's like, what what the f? Like, seriously, guys, it's it's crazy. Yeah, back to this scenario right now with
But I say that to say, like, he was under. They were under the gun before.
yeah,
Nothing
yeah,
really happened. This was when they were talking about, this big tech doing too much and this and that.
yeah,
You have them. You question them. Nothing happens. And you ask like
yeah.
these horrible questions. Now you have somebody coming out with more evidence against the country. So I just wonder, like, is this going to finally make you like do a real investigation, especially on Facebook? But I
It's
mean,
gonna be tough to say because the fact of the matter is certain people use this division. Some people thrive in this, right? There's money to be made in division, right? Um, it's nothing new that we tend to get together over things that we hate, right? So for example, 9/11, right? When that happened, super unfortunate, obviously incident, right? But the hate against like the Muslim community, right, rose, right?
crazy,
Because
crazy.
you found someone to hate, right? You have that
Yeah,
guinea pig to hate, right? Um, you see this in less serious scenarios. Look at sports teams, right? We all can get behind hating, you know, the
anybody
the
who wins too much,
exactly. So
or
the New England
yeah,
Patriots, right? We can get
yeah,
behind hating them. We can get behind hating LeBron James, right?
right,
Uh, or Dallas Cowboys, right? So kind of or Duke, right? Those those sports teams, right? So I mean, we've always gotten together when we hate something else, right? And it's kind of getting to the point where we need to evolve and kind of get better at that. Like I think I told you, I deleted Facebook from my phone, right? I actually had to unfriend a few people on Facebook because every time I would post something, like it's tribalism, right? They see me as a part of the other tribe, so they're just trying to put me down. And they just want to make argue. They don't really care about the argument itself. They're more fun with like just kind of stoking that discontent culture, right? So not healthy, got rid of them. And it's important that Facebook kind of does more of that, right? They are one of the most profitable companies in the world. I think they're a $1 trillion company. I think. I'll have to look that up. But they make the revenue. They can be definitely be doing more, right? Um, they only banned Trump for like 2 years, right?
yeah,
Which is a joke. Twitter went off and banned Trump for like indefinitely, right? Twitter's like,
yeah.
yeah, done.
You're out of
Like,
there.
yeah. Facebook has this oversight committee, by the way, which is against like which they banned Trump indefinitely and they kicked to the oversight committee, and the oversight committee is like, yeah, you could ban these guys for a lot longer. But this is a Facebook owned oversight committee, right?
Yeah,
So it makes you wonder like how much it's more say so for themselves than like not an actual oversight committee that's ran by the government by the people, right? So it's unfortunate and annoying, and there's more that needs to be done with Facebook. I don't think Congress is going to act though, unfortunately. Just even with let's kind of be even more serious, right? The only people that will really act will be on the Democratic side, and they have been dragging their feet on a lot of situations, like with voter
True.
rights, um, with this infrastructure bill that's needed. It seems like some of their moderate members aren't willing to do what needs to be done to get things done. Now, mind you, it's still year one, right? In the first year
Yeah.
of like Trump's like presidency, they didn't wait till like they waited till the end of the year to kind of pass the tax reform bill, which totally transformed how like America, like rich people, well, how America's tax reform system, which actually caused us to go in like long longer debt and higher in inflation, but that's a different topic, which I'm sure people would totally eat that up. But
Yep.
yeah, man, it's oh boy, oh boy, yeah. I mean, Facebook's good to connect with old people and
The old people. Did you just say that?
get connect with old people to connect with your older friends, though, right? See what they're doing, see what their birthdays are. Right, I'm on Facebook right now. It's sad to kind of see what it's turned into, but it's the nature of humanity, and we kind of got to do something about that, right? Like,
I mean,
yeah,
it kind of turned into a copy of Instagram in a way. I mean,
well,
to me, if you ask me,
yeah.
it's I don't really quite see, you know, if you it's kind of the same thing now at this point.
Well, no, Facebook has more things. They
The only
have these
difference is that I mean,
pages.
you get the notifications about. I mean, you have their business pages and all that, but you get the notifications about birthdays and you setting events and doing the gatherings and stuff like that. Like you have that, but for everyday use, I mean, basically, if I post something on Instagram, I just say, "Oh yeah, post this on Facebook too."
Yeah. Well, I mean, with Facebook though, you post articles, right? Like, but you don't do that for Instagram at all, right? And that's where then lies the problem, right? Where people can post whatever they want. And I was listening to NPR the other day. Facebook doesn't really do a great job with kind of finding the initial people that like starts this misinformation guideline from. So, for example, um, according to that NPR article, they say that like most of misinformation comes from about like 12 people that kind of
Mm-hmm.
spreads like wildfire from there, right? And they don't do a good job of like nipping in the bud these super spreaders, right? So it is we need to kind of demand more from that, and the government needs to get involved, unfortunately, right? Um, we've gotten involved before, right, with companies, right? So there's something called like the baby bell system, and like I think
AT&T,
that's
yeah, my
the
bell,
18.
right?
Yep, you know all about it, right? Where they had to break up like that telephone group because of um trade laws that they were violating, right? So yeah, it's something that needs to be done. I worry that will our Congress have the guts to follow through with it, right? Um, yeah.
Big question.
So yeah, it's really unfortunate. Let's talk. There's more I can talk about this a little bit too. Let me actually go a little bit more into Instagram as well. Like, yeah, they like I said, they're trying to start like a kids, Instagram kids, and a lot of people live on social media now. So we're me and you were old enough to exhibit life outside of those social media. We know when to turn it off, right?
Right.
But that's not to say there is a there's a whole group of people now. Like Facebook's almost what about 20 years old now, right? There's a people that um grew up online, right?
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and they don't understand how to turn it off. Like that's how they connect with people. So it is kind of jarring to kind of understand that, and they need to understand. Facebook needs to understand that and act accordingly, right? We have to demand more, or I mean, they'll destroy our society as we know it. So, um, yeah, I mean, you're
Well,
seeing it happen now, right?
my kids won't
Like,
be on.
huh? Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for not wanting to show your kids on Instagram, right? It's a mess. Oh, it's a mess. All right, ready to talk about Star Wars Visions?
I thought you were about diving into Chappelle. All right.
No, I did. I definitely want some interaction with Dave Chappelle. Like, I think Dave Chappelle deserves like its own thing, like its own episode. Like, let's talk
All
Dave
right.
Chappelle and get more people onto this.
All right.
Are
Star
you itching
Wars
your head?
Visions.
Are you
Huh?
itching your head right there?
Anyway.
I'm messing with you.
But no, so when the preview for Star Wars Visions came out, like I was
Yeah.
definitely intrigued because
We
after
say Nicholas loves everything Star Wars. Everything Star Wars.
I don't love everything Star Wars. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I loved the last movie, right? Well, that was what I was going to. Like, for me,
Wait, I
like
thought you liked the last movie. What are you talking about? The episode 9, the Rise of Skywalker. I thought you enjoyed it, right? Didn't we do a review about that where you kind of enjoyed it a
we
little
did
bit?
do a review, and I said that I saw them trying to rectify a lot of what they messed up, but in the end, they screwed it up for me because it wasn't that good of a movie. But I
No.
said if the
Fan
ending
service.
um, justified me getting through this other 2 hours of stuff, then I would have been like, I would have passed it. But it didn't. You
Yeah.
have the fake Ben Solo Ray romance. You had all the Skywalkers died, and this girl talk about I'm a Skywalker now, and boom, Rise of Skywalkers. No. So anyways.
Yeah.
So,
That
so
kiss
after
at the
all
end
of
of that
that,
movie so annoyed me, by the way. Oh my God, it was so
there's
it was
no
like
there was no precedent for it. It's clearly like should have been it was Finn who looked like he had feelings for her, right?
well,
Even
it
though
made more
he hung
sense
in the
for
whole
it to be
movie.
thin. I
Um,
will say this though. So I don't know if we could cover this in our when we reviewed it like way back when, but like his role was dramatically reduced because they were still trying to cater that movie to China, right? So China not used to like that audience, not used to having a lot of black people in their films. Like Black Panther didn't do very particularly well in China because it was a movie about black people. So um
there's one guy.
that needs to be
It's
kind
one guy.
of
It's not like the whole movie was all about.
regardless that my point is that his role was dramatically reduced because of that, right?
But
Because they
how
were trying
much
to
more
cater to
could
that.
they? I wonder how much more they could have had him in there because I mean I felt like he was in there
Bro,
for a good amount of the movie. Like
oh, for the last part of the movie, he should have been more the like. Let's face it, the first movie was more about him and Ray, right? They were the two main
yeah,
protagonists, and they kind of backed it off a little bit on the second movie. And like the third movie, it was more of a like it was almost more of a cameo, right? Like a little bit. It didn't do him justice like at all, right? And the poor Rose character, oh my God, like they just totally just took her out of it. So I feel sorry for her because she had like death threats because of her role and which
yeah.
isn't her fault and like um
She left social media,
this
but
one.
but
Yeah.
so yeah. I
Again,
say all
social
that to
media,
say,
right? Some things that we need to kind of correct, right?
but I say all
Yeah.
that to say, after they pretty much ruined it, at least for me and a lot of other people who felt like me about what they did with the story, um, Star Wars Visions kind of opened me up to other directions they could take the franchise, right?
Mhm.
Um, Especially that first episode, The Duel, because
Yes.
Star Wars has a lot of makes a lot of references to samurai and Ronin samurai and
Yeah.
other bits of Japanese culture. So when I saw that first one, it was like, yo, who is this dude?
Yeah.
I immediately wanted to know more about him.
Yeah.
So I'm really thinking that I'm really hoping that like whoever's managing, I think it's Favreau now, I guess, whoever's managing the franchise, take some cues from what these people did with these short stories, because there's a lot of stuff to cover that doesn't necessarily have to do with the Skywalker saga, or
Yeah.
if you do continue the Skywalker saga, I mean, look at some of the stuff that they did, and maybe you could, take some story cues from that, like the duel. There was the one about,
Yeah.
it was the one with the woman comes up on the village. I think she was I don't know, she was still learning or something like that. She came up on the village and she ended up having to like protect the village from some bounty hunters or something crazy like
Yeah.
that. Like, I mean, that could be a race story, like a new race story for real, because she's still
Yeah.
learning. She could have come across like a new master and have something like that. There's definitely something out there, or there was another episode where there was still someone out there making lightsabers, right? You remember that one? There's a guy out there making lightsabers, and this Jedi Master had called all these Force sensitives over to like this last remaining temple or Force sensitive location to give them these lightsabers to continue to fight against the Empire. And went into some other stuff or whatever. So, I mean, these are some dope visions. Some were kind of corny, like my guy in the rock band.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
the most
That
part, I
was
thought they
that was so. I've watched a few of them. I haven't watched all of them. And I did watch a lot of these. I tend to watch at night, like right before I go to sleep, and sometimes I'm just too tired and I just fall asleep. But I do remember the duel. That was a really good one. I remember the rock band one, which kind of took me out of a little bit. It's like I
yeah, I was
don't really
like,
need to see.
what?
I I remember there was another one where like there's a brother and sister that they were fighting a little bit, and
Yeah,
so I definitely
yeah,
remember that
that
one.
was a good one too.
That
Because
was a
I
good
think that would
one.
have been good. Let's say, if Ray and if they do find a way to bring Ben back or whatever, what if Ray turns evil and Ben has to be the one, to bring her back from the brink, or whatever,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah, no, they definitely could have done more in that movie. But here, no, I think you're absolutely right. Like so just an FYI, these shows aren't canon, right? These aren't like
right.
canon shows. These are like Japanese studios kind of taking their take on Star Wars. And I mean, I think it's actually um pretty solid. I mean, I think you're right. They can definitely take some ideas from this and kind of breathe life into like the Star Wars like saga. One thing that's interesting though, and I read an article about this, is that they're doing more and more to kind of take the Jedi out of Star Wars a little bit, right? And you see a little bit of this in like The Mandalorian, right? Where you don't see a lot of like Jedi around. Now, mind you, Ahsoka's gonna have her own series and whatnot for sure, who is a Jedi, but
Right.
they're involving more of the Star Wars saga without Jedi. And that's mainly because the Jedi are just so powerful, right? They are
I mean,
very,
you
very
say that,
powerful.
right? You say that, but then, let's be honest. Like, the Jedi lost. Like, this is one of the few franchises where like the good guys really lost, right? The Jedi were running things in the galaxy for eons
Mhm.
and eons. Obviously, like the Sith were still their primary enemy, but they were, for all intents and purposes, like running things. They
Yeah.
got too confident in their position, and the Sith came back and pretty much eradicated them. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like true, like Luke Skywalker came back and defeated the Empire, and honestly, I think, in my opinion, it's like the Sith were really only defeated because they had like that rule too. But if they were thinking like the Jedi, where they just trained like all these Sith I mean, it could have been a Sith galaxy as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean?
You could tell the Nicholas nerdom of Star Wars is coming out now.
But I'm just saying, like, I think the Jedi. I always wanted to see the Jedi or something with something related to the Jedi in the stories, because that's the main draw. Like, I understand there's other corners of the Star Wars universe to be explored, but I hate it when people be like, "Oh, we've got Jedi fatigue, and oh, we need something different." You know what I mean? It's like, no, how about you just tell a better Jedi focused story, right?
Yeah.
Ahsoka Tano is a great example of that. I think she's like the best thing to come out of
I am super excited for
Ahsoka Tano. Like, she is an awesome Jedi, and not only is she an awesome Jedi, but like she is one of the Jedi who really forged her own path, right? So she broke away from the Order. She's still good, but she's kind of following that gray Jedi philosophy, kind of, right? Because she, her lightsabers are white, no color. So, I want the more Jedi is better as far as I'm concerned. But I'll take some Mandalorian for sure.
You'll take who?
Some Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely,
Some bounty hunter focused series like Boba Fett. I mean, that stuff is cool. But I mean, after it's like, other than that, I want to see.
I'm not sure how I feel about the Boba Fett series, but because like, I mean, he looked pretty dead. The Return of the Jedi, like, he looked pretty dead there. So I mean, the fact that they brought him back, I mean, we'll see how that works. No, back to the divisions. No, I mean, I think it's definitely been a fresh breath of fresh air. Haven't had a huge chance to kind of really look too deep into it, but like the few episodes that I do remember watching, outside that music episode, which I just didn't care for, but I'm sorry I couldn't do it. Like, I watched the whole thing. It's like, is this the whole thing? Is them doing a concert for Jabba? Like, that's it? I mean, it seemed like more of a kids thing. I mean, we're talking cartoons.
You gotta have thing. So they did something for everybody. I say this.
So, we can even go further and like talk about like like Star Wars in total, like what they're trying to bring out next. I don't know what the next Star Wars things that's supposed to come out.
That's what I'm saying. I think everybody's I won't say everybody because I'm being general, but I'm waiting for the Mandalorian
season 2.
Ahsoka Tano. I know they did some stuff with they have some books from the High Republic era, like before like Luke and all that, before like the prequel series and all that. So, which is cool, but I haven't really read any of the books or whatever. I'm more interested in, they need to wrap up. You already know what I'm going to say. I need more Luke. I need more Luke Skywalker, man.
Of course.
You can't just jump ahead 50 years and be like, this is what I get. Nah, I need some more.
Yeah, no, you're a true fan of the series, and I think people like you want Prime Luke, right? You want Prime Luke.
That is the hero we grew up with. Like, don't just come get us hyped for bringing Star Wars back, and then you make like the hero from the last one just be something totally different. Right? Yeah. And
you guys want Prime Luke back. For sure.
I remember when they had an outcry about that, and people were making fun of them because they were like these memes where they drew Luke Skywalker's like this big, huge, muscular guy. It's like, Mr. Universe, like, I look like He-Man or whatever. It's like, I just taking it too far.
No, but like, I mean, sure, we can have a Luke Skywalker series. He can't be like in the same storyline as the Mandalorian. right? I don't think so. He's too powerful. You saw that in the last episode of The Mandalorian. The guy literally just walks up there and destroys everything. It's a Superman problem, right? It's like, I mean, it was cool to see. I honestly don't think they'll do it. Like, honestly.
They need to.
Unless they retcon the last three movies, which I don't see them doing, right? I mean, it's possible.
Necessarily, this is what you do. They don't have to retcon. This is what you do. After somebody correct me, I think it was the Battle of Yavin or whatever, like when they defeated the Empire, right? You don't hear from Luke anymore. So they could pick up right there. Or if they want to pick it up after The Mandalorian, they can do that too. All you have to do is show me how he built the new Jedi Order, the trials and tribulations that he had to go through to do that. The artifacts that he obviously had to collect, what else he had to learn, because he said that, there isn't just there isn't just a light and a dark side, there's more. Well, show me how he learned that, right? He had to learn it. He had to gain some new skills and powers through learning that, right? So, show me that. Show me, give me more. But no, I could definitely do some more Star Wars visions. I would love to see some more episodes for sure. So it says season 1. So I hope we get more.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I'd definitely like to watch more Star Wars visions myself. Yeah. Oh, just kind of an FYI. So you know about Gina Carano, how she was like kind of booted. She was fired from Star Wars. They haven't recast her, and they're suggesting that she may come back for season 4, which I'll totally be against her coming back. Like, I say go ahead and recast her and get someone that can act. That's my 2 cents.
If Vin Diesel can have a 11 movie deal for Fast and Furious, then Gina Carano is a great actor. Okay.
God, don't get me started on that. She is starting her own. She went to like this conservative news outlet called the Daily Wire, starting her own kind of doing her own little movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure it's gonna be
crashes and burns.
I'm sure it's gonna be a piece of shit, but I'm not gonna hope for it. I'm pretty sure it will. But because I already know exactly it's gonna be alpha macho, tough, freedom, blah 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 blah. So yeah. Fine.
Tell them how you feel, man. Tell them how you feel.
I can't right now. No, I'm looking more on like a Mandalorian season 3 right now. And like Carl Weathers, so he's gonna be back. I'd love to know when Ahsoka Tano's coming back though, because
she's gonna have her own show. I don't even think you're gonna see her.
Huh?
I don't think you're gonna see her again.
Until her next show, right?
Until her show. Yeah.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because, whatever. Well, what are we gonna do?
Sit back and wait. That's all you can do. That's all we can do.
Yeah. What are we gonna do? All right. Well, I think that's all I have for today.
Well, yeah, since you won't let us talk about the Chappelle show, man.
Bro, that deserves its own thing. Let's let it have its own thing. Let's do it. It's big. It's epic, right?
I'm ready to discuss.
I want everyone to I want to see comments on like the feed. I want everyone to be able to kind of, I'm going to invite like everyone to do it. And I mean, I think it's going to be great. So let's do that. I don't know when you're free to kind of talk about that. We are tonight.
We'll work it off. We'll work on it offline, man. We'll work it
we'll work it off offline. We're super professional. Just an FYI, Nicholas had to wake me up from my nap, which is just sad. It was just a crazy work day today, and I think like after like 5 o'clock, I was like, I'm done. I just like jumped on in my dorm room bed back here and was just out. And I was out. Like, mind you, my pillow is up here, my head was over there. Like, that's to tell you how like how out I was. Like, my head was not on my pillow at all. I was just gone. So
That's what
when
happens.
you
That's what happens when your house is just like a computer desk in the bed. That's like that's all you
this fucking guy.
go outside,
But
Saheed. Live life. Live life.
yeah, I'm doing my best. All right, cool. So let's call for this episode. No, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. I can't wait to like really get into like Dave Chappelle though. Like, that's gonna be. I'm excited to talk about that one, and I kind of want I want to do that one. I want to do that one right. That's why. That's kind of why I'm like.
All right, people. So when we're talking about Dave Chappelle like a month from now, I want everyone to remember that Saheed pushed it off.
Don't start with me on that, because remember Shang-Chi, right?
Thank you, everyone.
Shang-Chi, you waited a month to watch Shang-Chi.
Tuning in to tonight's episode.
Remember Shang-Chi? I was like, hey, let's go talk about this again.
You want to know why it's different? That's different. Do you want to know why it's different?
Why?
Because there are still people out there like myself who weren't necessarily comfortable going to the movie theater. What can I say? But you know where I watched Dave Chappelle? Right here in the house, one day after it came out.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, let's call for tonight's episode. We got to do some meeting stuff offline, but I definitely want to talk Dave Chappelle for sure. You can see how excited I am. Nick is ready to talk about it. I kind of want to make a little bit more of a bigger deal about it. So let's kind of we'll get our ducks in a row and we'll talk about it soon.